Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 9th session of Atma Bodha. We mentioned this in our previous gift session. I would like to recall the same. February 12th is the Jayanti of Guru Ravidas. He was a mystic poet saint, prominent figure in the Bhakti movement during 15th to 16th century CE. His devotional songs and verses had a lasting impact on the Bhakti movement, which is the topic of today, the topic of gift session, the subsequent gift session. He was a social reformer. His teachings advocating social equality, justice, dignity, and respect of all, regardless of their caste or social status. He believed in Nirguna Bhakti and advocated devotion as a means to spiritual liberation. 41 of his devotional songs and poems are included even in the Sikh scriptures, Guru Granth Sahib. Today, our Param Vedanta teachers, Sri Vinayakan, Srimati Rama Gopal Krishna, Srimati Smita Pai, Srimati Kirti, will explain verses 36 to 39 of Atma Bodha, or self-knowledge, a profound text composed of 68 verses written in the 8th century by Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya to guide seekers to shed their ignorance and realize their true nature and attain moksha. These verses encourage the seeker to meditate on the true nature of the self, which is beyond the transient physical existence, and to realize his or her oneness with Brahman. This session will be moderated by our revered teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, who, drawing from his vast knowledge, will give us complex concepts in a simple nutshell. To start with, Srimati Aruna will help us recall the shlokas of the previous session. Over to Srimati Aruna.
Hari Om, thank you. Verses 32 to 35 are like the basis of Vedantic contemplation. Bhagwan Shankara has systematically broken down the process of contemplation of Mananam and Nididhyasanam. These verses are not mere teachings, but rather they address an aspirant or a sadhaka who has jnanam, knowledge of the true self, through tireless shravanam. These were verses all addressed and written in I, the first person, show the way to remove ignorance that is created by habitual conditioning and wrong thinking which has gone on for decades, perhaps even lives. Bhagwan Shankara in verses 32-33 systematically starts with disidentifying Atman or the self from the body, disidentifying the self Atman from the senses, then from the mind, and even from prana. Each line in all these verses is a start for contemplation, nididhyasana. Remember that nididhyasana is not mere intellectual understanding, but it is to be an experience. Nididhyasana by itself is not enlightenment also, but it is a powerful prerequisite to enlightenment. Next slide, please. Let us look at verse 32. Earlier verses in the Atma Bodha have said that body is drishya, an object. I, the self, am dehanyatvat. That's what Bhagwan Shankara says, anya, not the body. Therefore, the problems, the modifications of the body like birth, old age, and death do not affect me, nor do they accrue to me. I, Atman, am not the stula sharira. The second line says that I, the self, am not the body. Therefore, even the sense organs do not belong to me. Anything that the senses perceive by way of Shabda and experience, Vishaya, does not affect me, the self. The senses may suffer, but I, the self, do not suffer. Next slide, please. Looking at verse 33, Bhagwan Shankara moves on to the disidentification of Atma or me, the self, from the mind. I, the self, he says, am amanastvat, totally free from the mind. Therefore, being free from the mind, I, the self, am unaffected by dukkha, sorrow, raga, dvesha, from likes and dislikes, and from bhaya, fear, which includes kama, krodha, lobha, etc. So I, the Atman, am therefore not identified with the Sukshma Sharira either. This line is very clear about that. Then the second line in this verse says that Atman is free from prana, the life force. The Shruti Shasanat, the scriptures say so. Here is the reference to the Mundakopanishad, the verse where the self is disidentified with prana and disconnected from the mind. Purushaha, the conscious being that I am, is pure, Shubhra, and it is free from prana and from the mind and free from ignorance. So I, the self, am free from the stula, sukshma, and karana sharira. These three are adhyasas. Actually, they don't exist. Next slide, please. An earlier section of Atma Bodha, verse 34, an earlier section of Atma Bodha says that Atman or consciousness is self-revealing. In fact, it is present, Atman is present even now as the awareness that illumines everything. The problem for us is that although it is self-revealing, the true nature of Atman or the self is not clear at all. Wrong attributes are superimposed on Atman. And in this verse, Bhagwan Shankara has negated these wrong attributes very methodically. Nisheda Paraha. There are a series of negations within this verse. The first one being Nirguna. Atman is free from the conditions of the body, mind, etc. Nishkriya. It is free from action. Nitya. It is eternal, not born, never born, doesn't die. Nirvikalpa, Niranjana, Nirvikara. Basically, the self is free from any change, impurity, or taint. Nirakara, Atman consciousness, has no form, and Nitya Mukta, it is eternally free. Now, each one of these words in this verse is powerful and can be the basis for contemplation, for meditation, and it can create a direct experience in Nididhyasana. Next slide, please. So the negation that began in the previous verse is in this verse 35 in the last line. Atma is Nisanga, unaffected by the condition of the body and mind. Now, repeating these words is important, not for the sake of teaching, but for it to become a point of contemplation for a sadhaka, to remove the old and habitual conditioning of Dehatma Bhava, the notion that I am the Jiva. So after all these negations, what remains is the non-negatable reality. That is my true nature. And what is that nature? Bhagwan Shankara says, Aham Akashat Sarva. The self Atman can be compared to space. As space is outside, Bahir, and Antargata, inside, all pervasive, so is the self, all pervasive. The self is Achyuta, not subject to decay. And in the positive note in this particular verse, the self is considered Sada Sarva Sama. Atman, the self, is undisturbed in all situations, being perfect, Siddha, pure. Therefore, consciousness or self is beyond time and space, is eternal and unchanging and pure. Not only is Atman self-revealing, but also it exists in itself alone. Thank you. Hari Om.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. There was once a group of lions living in a zoo. They had settled down comfortably with their life in the zoo. They had adjusted to the fact that they could not roam about freely in the forest or have the pleasure of killing their own prey. One day, a bright-looking lion joined them. He became disgusted with the life in the zoo. He explained these feelings to his comrades there. They urged him to forget his former free life and get used to the new one. There is no point complaining about the situation in the zoo. After all, they were getting free food. The young lion, however, was determined only to free himself from the zoo. His eyes gazed only at the fence, and his mind was on how to get to the other side. Nothing interested him in the zoo. His comrades thought he was crazy, but he told them, "This is not life, it is imprisonment. However comfortable you may be here, remember you are only a prisoner. Escape from here. Escape, escape I must, and escape I shall." Bal Gangadhar Tilak had given us this slogan, which galvanized the country to work for our freedom. Swaraj is my birthright, and I will have it. All of us, part of this Tattva Bodha class, should make this resolve that moksha or parama purushartha, which is true inner freedom, is my birthright, and I will have it. We are all like the lions trapped in the zoo of worldly existence. Like the young lion, we should be only concerned with how to escape. We must not have any other thing on our mind. Don't get too comfortable here. Just get out of captivity. Freedom is our birthright. Until now, we were doing only the introduction classes. 8 classes we had the introduction. Only today we actually enter Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha or Vedanta is intended for those daring lions in today's world who have the same mindset as the lion in the above story. For such lions, this series unfolds the sadhana or the practical steps that are needed to get out of the prison of this narrow, egoistic, individual existence full of our desires, our worldly urges, and to discover within ourselves the Atma Tattva, the supreme spiritual purpose of human life as advised by our Shastras and the great saints of the world. Tattva Bodha that we are studying serves 2 purposes. It gives us a method of inquiring into self-knowledge. Also, it introduces a number of technical terms. Tattva Bodha is authored by Adi Shankaracharya. It is an introductory text which gives us the essence of Vedanta and its terminology in a simple question-answer style. It is called a Prakarana Grantha. The moment we have a new term, we should know what is a Prakarana Grantha and what is a Mula Grantha. A Prakarana Grantha is an auxiliary or a supporting text written by any Acharya for us to understand the main text, the Vedanta. The main source of knowledge, the Vedanta, or the end portion of the Upanishads, are also called the Upanishad, the Mula Grantha. So therefore, we have 2 kinds of texts, the main texts which are called the Mula Grantha, and to help us to understand, we have supporting texts called the Prakarana Grantha. And this Prakarana Grantha, Tattva Bodha, begins with a prayer. And the prayer goes like this. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanam Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam hitarthaya tattva bodho vidhiyati. Vasudevendra Yogendra. The author, Adi Shankara, or any Shankaracharya who wrote this text. We are not sure if it is actually Adi Shankara or a Shankaracharya. He addresses to his guru, Vasudevendra Yogendra. O Vasudevendra, probably the name of his guru, who is the king among all the yogins. Natva, that means I do namaskara. Jnanam pradam guru, to that guru who gives me knowledge. Mumukshu nam hitarthaya, for those of us who are very keen to attain to moksha. Mumukshu nam hitarthaya, to help them. Tattva bodho abhidhiyate. Now I will be teaching you Tattva Bodha. So this is how the text begins. And in the course of this first prayer itself, that is how beautifully the authors bring in what is called Anubandha Chatustaya. What is Anubandha Chatustaya? Whenever you go to a bookshop and you check out a book, you turn to the last page to see what is this topic about. That is called Vishaya. What is the subject matter? Next is, how is it going to benefit me? What is my prayojan? Adhikari, is this book meant for me? And then there is called the relationship between all of these, which is called the Sambandha. Now, in the course of this opening prayer that we just heard, Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanam Pradam Guru Mumukshunam Hirtarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate. What is the Vishaya? What is the subject? Tattva Bodha. Knowledge about Tattva, the essential truth. Prayojan, Mumukshu, Moksha. We can be able to attain permanent peace, security, and happiness. Adhikari, for whom is this book? Is one who is absolutely keen that moksha is my goal. For such a person, this book is arranged. Now, this book is in Sanskrit. Let us not hesitate to address these Sanskrit terms. So let us face these opening words in Sanskrit. Sadhana Chatustaya Sampannadhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshamaha. That is how it begins. And so what does it mean? Sadhana Chatustaya Sampannadhikarinam. For those who are endowed with those fourfold qualifications. Our whole class today is, what are these fourfold qualifications? Moksha Sadhana Bhutanam, which is a means for liberation. Tattva Viveka Prakaranam, the mode of inquiry into the reality of our true nature. Vakshamaha, we shall teach, we shall propound, we shall expound. Now, this is the picture that this is not that we are going to be crowned moksha. Am I eligible for the process of attaining moksha? It is not that you have become a doctor, but you are entering a medical school. Now, this whole class is about entering the process of learning about how to get moksha. You know how our tradition is, moksha is not something that some people get by chance. It is just like you become a doctor, you go through a medical school, you have a certain eligibility, you go through a proper training program, and then you attain this. That is exactly the learning process. So, what is the adhikari? What is the eligibility? Now, as I go through these eligibility, now remember, none of us have all the qualifications. And of course, because we are entering into self-knowledge, we are entering into as if into a medical school, we do not have to have the entire medical knowledge at all. But then we should have certain qualities which make you eligible, like that drive, the interest, the industry. Am I ready to give whatever I want for it? Now, that is what, whenever a person is selected for a program, the teacher will interview a person and say, do you have the making of those qualifications that will make you worthy of a student for self-inquiry or for Tattva Bodha? Now, as we go through these qualifications, now we will have 4 important qualifications. And I want you to see, do I have at least 40% if I have 40% of these qualifications, now nobody else can assess you. We have to assess for ourselves, do I have the entry level qualifications? Remember, this is not for an ordinary person. It is an evolved person. Who are those people who attend this class? These are people who have, in Mundaka, there is a nice mantra which says, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmana. A wise person who has examined his life, who has had some exposure to scriptures, who knows one thing, or at least who has heard one thing, that there is one truth called Brahman. I want to know about Brahman. And they also say crazy things like this world is not so real. So the person has a feeling that there is something about this world which is not as real, and there is some. So this person who's coming has got some idea. That means he knows about Brahma Satyam Jaganmatya. He does not know what is Brahman. He cannot understand that this world cannot be real, but he's certainly not like anybody who would not dismiss this statement as useless, and he wants to explore. He has come, and his desire is, I have done everything. Artha is over, Kama is over, Dharma is over. Let me pursue Moksha Purushartha. And he has heard that it is possible in this life, within this body itself, I can attain to Parama Purushartha, and such a person becomes what is called a Jivan Muktaha. It is not something posthumous, which cannot be verified, because you have living examples of people who are within this body who are free. And it is also believed that when such a person dies, a person does not have Punarjanma. He develops Videha Mukti. So these are the fourfold qualifications, technically called Sadhana Chatustaya Sampanna. And in English, we will call them discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire, the fourfold qualifications. So now we are looking at moksha. What is the purpose of Tattva Bodha? We are now entering Tattva Bodha so that we get Atma Jnanam. Why do I want to know about my real self? Because I want moksha. What is moksha? Moksha is a situation of peace, security, and happiness, not ordinary peace, security, and happiness, but permanent peace, security, and happiness. Also, nothing in this world can affect me adversely. I may experience pain, I may experience all kinds of difficulty, but for such a person who has moksha, there is no suffering whatsoever. Three things are extremely difficult to get: Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha. Now, very fortunately, we are all human beings. Manushutvam, being born as a human being with an evolved intellect, we always have. Why have we entered this class? Because we have mumukshutvam, at least 40% drive that I want moksha. That is there. And we have the third important qualification in the form of Swamiji as a Mahapurusha who is going to be able to guide. With this, let us look at moksha as a goal. Man's greatest longing is for freedom. Freedom is the essential core of all beings. Moksha means free from samsara. What is samsara? Free from all forms of emotional disturbances, free from fear, free from sorrow, and so on. Moksha is possible only when we get to know our true nature. That is, I am Atma Brahma. I am not this body-mind complex, but I am of the nature of Atma, which is the same as Brahman. This is possible only through the help of Guru and Shastra. And this is also possible only if I have the required qualifications. And today's class is about what are those qualifications. That means once I know what is moksha, and if I give a certain value, see, am I ready to give whatever is required? For example, to earn artha or money, or to enjoy life, karma, we are ready to give whatever is required. But when it comes to moksha, we have a hesitation. Why? For only one reason, I'm not sure what moksha is. If one is clear that moksha is the highest a human being can achieve, then there will be far more people who will be pursuing Parama Purushartha or moksha. To give you a quick glance, what is moksha all about? See, all of us have jignyasa, a curiosity to know. Kastvam koham kuta ayataha. From where have I come? Where will I go? What is the meaning of life? What is this suffering all about? Now, we have a certain curiosity. All those curiosity will be clarified when you attain to Paramapurushartha or moksha. The joy, this is called Vidyananda Prapti. Now, if you know how to send a new messaging technology through messaging, we have so much joy that I learned something new. That joy is called Vidyananda. And the highest form of joy is the joy of Paramapurushartha through knowledge. Agata Nivritti. For a person who has understood his true nature, the best state I can say is when you wake up, you don't have to be worried about what bad news is going to happen today. Why? A person is absolutely insulated from all kinds of bad news because a person now knows anything that happens to my body, my family, my possessions cannot really affect me because now a person has transcended an ordinary way of life and nothing in this world can affect. Can you see that is the glory of what is moksha? Paratantra Nivritti, no longer dependent on any object, person, or situation for his happiness. Why? Now he has attained to Atma Nevatmana Tushtaha. A person has discovered Purnatvam within himself. And finally, Dakshataha Prapti. That means, now supposing my mind is stressed about something, such a mind is a useless mind. It cannot function. Only a stress-free mind is a dakshataha. That means it is a skillful mind. A yogi, Jivan Mukta is absolutely skillful because his mind is available. Can we have what Jivan Mukta is all about? Now, fourfold qualifications. The qualifications is Viveka or discrimination, Vairagya or dispassion, I will explain each of them. Mumukshutvam or the keen desire for freedom. Shakta Sampatti or the sixfold desires which will help me to attain to Paramapurushartha or moksha. The first I want to tell you of all these, the most important is, do I have that keen drive of moksha purushartha? I want it. Do I have mumukshutvam? Not only of a 40%, 50%, 60%, higher the percent is, you move from manda to madhyama to tivra. That means if you have a distinction level of mumukshutvam, then there is no obstacles, all the other qualifications. Now, supposing somebody knows this is important for me, I'm ready to give whatever is required. That is why I say mumukshutvam is one of the most important qualifications. Viveka, Vairagya, Shakta Sampatti is secondary. What is Viveka or discrimination? Discrimination here is not in a negative sense. It means in the sense of discernment, being very sensitive. Sukshma Buddhi. You can make out a distinction between small things. And what is the Sukshma Buddhi? Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. What is that which is permanent and what is impermanent? Now, in business, in stocks, we will always put where something is going to give me long-term dividends and it is going to last for a long time. If there is a company which I know which is going to go bankrupt after some time, I'm not going to invest on that. Now, in discrimination, we are told there is something in this world which is called Brahman, which is the only real thing. And that is what is called Viveka. Brahman alone is real, everything is unreal. And if a person is willing to enter into that, such a person has got Viveka or discrimination. That means I am no longer going to invest in the world because the world is not real. This whole creation is impermanent. It does not mean that the world is useless. The world can give us entertainment, education, opportunity to serve, opportunity for growth. But for lasting peace, security, and happiness, we need to turn to God, which in Vedanta is called as Brahman. And in the qualification, it is called Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So the first qualification is called Viveka. Second is Vairagya. If I know Brahman is real and the world is not so real, am I going to invest anything in this world? That means this world has dispassion. My passion or my clinging to the world for security, peace, and happiness is gone. Can you see such a change? No longer interested in or running after anything worldly. Person vairagya comes from viraga, free from. Raga means strong likes. Dislikes also come. So there is no strong likes and dislikes. There is one aniketah stiramatahi. Tulya nindastu stirmauni santushtu yena kenachit. I want this word. Yena kena. Whatever comes to me, I'm happy. This is the attitude of a person who's a viraga. Such a person does not want to encash the benefits of whatever punya he has accomplished in this world or hereafter. No longer seeking after punya or encashing anything that he has. Such a person, vairagya or dispassion does not mean giving up your family, giving up your possession, or any worldly responsibility. Certainly not. You can handle all your worldly responsibility, but remember, this is only a role play. The clearer viveka is there, more is the dispassion or vairagya. And the proof of viveka is vairagya. That means such a person is no longer dependent on anything in this world for peace, security, and happiness. I've already told you enough about mumukshutvam or desire. Freedom, mumukshutva means desire for freedom. Now, there is because we know that the world causes clinging, and moksha is my purushartha, and I'm going to work for it. Then there are 6 disciplines. Any accomplishment requires a lot of discipline. Shama means mind control. Dhamma means sense control. Uparama. Uparama means I'm not going to waste my time. Now my time is very precious. All that is not so important. I'm not going to pay attention. Titiksha means mental toughness. Shraddha. Shraddha means complete trust in my guru and in the Shastras. Samadhana is my ability to focus on the job ahead. Now, as I go through each of these qualifications, let us see what is our percentage marks that we can give for each of these qualifications. Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, and so on. What is Shama, which also means mind mastery or mano nigraha? It's called tranquility of the mind. A mind that is free from all stress and strain. As I told you, if the mind is under stress or strain, it is a useless mind. That mind is not useful for anything worldly or for spiritual purposes. Now, if you have that mind, which is free from all these kind of stresses, then you can regulate your mind to accomplish whatever you have. And this great quality of mind mastery or mano nigraha is called shamaha. Do I have 40% of that? Damaha, that means my ability to control my sense organs, because the sense organs are the first filter. So before objects enter into my mind, can I control my sense organs? That is called Damaha. Uparama means my ability to withdraw from all the external activities like artha and kama, which takes so much of my time. A person who's interested in Parama Purushartha will slowly say no, no, no to many things which waste his time and put his time on that which is more important. Things that matter the most should not be at the expense of things that do not matter so much. So there is a real, Uparama is a kind of prioritization and time management, what I focus on and what I do not focus on. Do I have at least 40% of that? Then comes another thing is about titiksha or mental toughness. In Sanskrit, it is called sitoshna sukhadukkadi sahishnutvam, my ability to handle mental and physical upsets. Forbearance, that I have that mental determination to handle all kinds of problems. And when the determination is so strong, there are no blocks for such a person. Shraddha. Until here, I said 40%, 40%, 40% is enough. Here I should ask you what percentage is required. Shraddha means my Guru and my Shastra 100%. There is nothing like 99%. In trust, it is 100% or no. It is either you have Shraddha in the Guru and in the scriptures, or you don't have Shraddha. So therefore, in this, as far as Shraddha is concerned, there is no English translation to that. So Shraddha should be 100%. That means my teacher is not going to tell me a lie. My scriptures are the truth. They are, that is why it is called gospel truth. God has spelled it out to me. And about it, I may not be able to internalize. I may have doubts. That is why the scriptures give you an opportunity called mananam. Through my colleagues or my teacher, my guru will clarify my doubts. But I know one thing for sure. My teacher is not going to mislead me. My guru is not going to, my scriptures are not telling a lie. That is what is called Shraddha. Samadhana is also called Chitta Ekagrata. I have the ability to focus on what is ahead of me. Whatever I do, 100%. See, you may be doing many other things, just like when you're going on a long journey on a train. At every station, you may get down, do many things. But what is your background of the mind? I am on a journey to Delhi and I have to be aware that when the train moves, I have to get in. So if this is the Shruti of your life, I am here for Parama Purushartha, and therefore my activities are all guided in that way, and that is called Samadhana. So how do I get these qualifications? Viveka, Vairagya, and Mumukshutvam come through Karma Yoga. Shakta Sampatti comes through Upasana Yoga. So the first three qualifications, Viveka, Vairagya, and Mumukshutvam through Karma Yoga. Shama Adi Shakta Sampatti comes through Upasana Yoga. Finally, Swamiji won't leave you with this. He says, see, this is not an ordinary pursuit. We are entering into the world of Paramapurushartha. Ask yourself about ethical life and moral values. This is called Yama and Niyama. Himsa Varjana. No violence allowed. No forms of lying. No stealing. No inappropriate sexual relationship. No over possessions. Sauchyam, purity. Santosha, contentment. Tapaha, self-denial. Swadhyaya, scriptural studies. And surrender to the Lord. Now, these are the qualifications that will lead you to the process of Tattva Bodha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Our opening speaker today will be Vinayakan. Vinayakan, please.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So 36th verse of Atma Bodha goes like this. Nitya Shuddha Vimuktaikam Akhandanandam Advayam Satyam Jnanamanandam Yatparam Brahmeva Tat. Literal meaning, I am indeed the Supreme Brahman that is eternal, without stains, free one without a second, undivided, non-dual, and of the nature of conscious, blissful existence. Next slide, sir. The first line says, Nitya Shuddha Vimukta Ekam. Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Vimuktam, and Nitya Ekam. I am ever pure, I am ever free, and I am ever non-dual. Here, Nitya. Nitya means that which is eternal, that which is ever the same, that which is never influenced by time, that which has no beginning and no end. So, Nitya I am. Then Shuddha means pure. Here, what is impurity? The sense of otherness or duality is called as impurity. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi once answered when someone asked a question as, what about others? Bhagavan answered as, there are no others. This is the nature of Shuddham. Anything that is to be recognized and objectified is to be rejected. And when we keep on rejecting, then reaches a point where we realize that by which you have rejected everything is also an object, that the lower I, mind. So Atman is beyond that. The next is Vimukta. Ever, next slide, sir. Ever liberated. I am the body, notion, and I am the soul notion are the bondage. In Vishishtadvaitam, it says, before Srishti, Ishvara was one. After Pralayam, Ishvara was one. But in between, Ishvara becomes many. Thus, Advaitam, Dvaitam, again back to Advaitam. But in Advaitam, there was, there is, and there will be the non-dual. Example, a rope was, rope is, rope will be. In between snake is an error and hallucination. So this explains about Nitya Ekam Avastha. We'll go back to Nitya Vimukta once again. Nitya Vimukta means ever liberated. I am. I am the body notion and I am the soul notion are the bondage. These are notions. They are not the truth. Once the notion is regarded as and understood as a notion, all the problems will go away. If I have a notion that somebody is my friend or somebody is my enemy, and when I discarded that notion, thereafter I will live in this world with great awareness. Therefore, Vimukta, we are not bound because our essential nature is total freedom. Next slide, sir. Next is Akhanda Ananda Advayam. I am undivided happiness, Ananda. It is unbroken bliss. I am undivided happiness. Khanda Anandam and Akhanda Anandam is like Vishayananda and Atmananda. Khanda Anandam is happiness for some time. It is a temporary happiness which comes and goes. In Advaitam always says, never try to experience Ananda. It will come to division because experience are always khandam. There is no permanent experience at all. Once we know that Aham Ananda Swarupam Asmi, then there is no division at all. And that Ananda sometimes comes to manifestation. Sometimes it does not manifest. Whether it manifests or does not manifest, I am Ananda Swarupa. And Advaya means non-dual. Next is Satyam Jnanam Anandam. Taittiriya Upanishad declares that truth as Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma. Satyam is that which cannot be negated. Trikale api tishtati, which is ever existent. And Jnana means the pure consciousness. And Anandam means limitless. So I am limitless existence, limitless awareness, and I am that Parabrahma. Next slide, sir. So when we look upon Nididhyasanam is dropping the habitual reactions to the situations, dropping habitual expectations. Our Ananda should not be dependent on any of these conditions. A samsari wants to change others so that he will be happy. Whereas a jnani may also advise others to change, but whether they change or not, the jnani's Ananda is not disturbed. Ananda is a state of no expectation. Now, how to practice and how long to practice? Till the reactions completely go. Just as the reaction is natural to us, the reactionlessness should become natural. Peace should be natural. Hari Om. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Vinayakan. Ramaji, please. I will not come in between speakers to save time. As your name comes, please continue. Rama, madam.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Atma Bodha Shloka 37. Evam Nirantarabhyasta Brahmaivasmiti Vasana Haratya Vidya Vikshepan Rogan Ivarasayanam. The translation. The cognitive impression, I am Brahman, thus created by uninterrupted comprehension and constant practice, destroys ignorance and its effects caused by it, just as medicine or rasayanam destroys diseases. More about Nididhyasanam is seen in the next slide. And the shloka says, Evam Nirantara Abhyasta. Having explained the nature of the self in the previous shloka, Acharya Shankara impels us to constantly practice this knowledge that I am the absolute bliss, that is, Aham Akhanda Anandaha Asmi. This Ananda should not be dependent on any of the Anatma conditions as they immerse the seeker permanently in samsara. In short, Ananda is a state of no reaction or expectation under any condition. And accept this body, which is a result of prarabdha karma, as Ishvara Prasadam, while anchored in Parabrahman. From the slokas 34 to 37, Adi Shankaracharya explores the topic of Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam is dropping habitual expectations of the future or reactions to the changes in situation, people, etc. This shloka 37 explains the impact of this experience on the seeker. Brahmaiva asmi iti vasana. Vasanas are impressions accumulated over a number of janmas in the past. They have to be eliminated along with attachments to anatmas like body-mind complex. The ego always binds the jivas to the world of duality because of ignorance. When the duality is removed, the eternal, non-dual Supreme Self is experienced, which cannot be objectified. This has to be practiced as Brahma Eva Asmi, not Brahma Asmi. It means I am Brahman only. There is no doubt. Eva emphasizes the decisive knowledge of the self. Iti vasana should be changed to iti bhavana. Puja Swamiji says that bhavana means nididhyasanam. And this is nirantara abhyasa, meaning practiced persistently. Next slide details the benefits of nididhyasanam. Avidya vikshepan harati. Habitual reaction caused by ignorance and agitation are completely destroyed or taken away. Avidya is removed by Shravanam and Avidya Vikshepam is removed by Nididhyasanam. Avidya Vikshepam means Viparita Bhavana, that is Avidyajanya Mohan va Viparita Pratyayan, meaning habitual reactions. It also includes the pratyayas that I will become liberated. When will I be liberated? Or will I get at least krama mukti? All these are examples of avidya vikshepan. The next slide describes the rasayanam example, that is rasayanam rogan harativa. Medicine curing rogan, diseases. Rasayanam is advised to remove sthula sharira rogan. Nididhyasanam is to remove sukshma sharira rogan or manorogan. Rasayanam removes vyadhihi. Nididhyasanam removes adhihi, that is manorogan. Even after the medicine cures the disease, there will be a period one has to follow certain patyam, the restrictions in food intake, discipline, and change in lifestyle. Then only the cure is assured. Similarly, a seeker who has understood Vedanta by Shravanam and Mananam should follow instructions from his Guru, Shastras, get doubts cleared, and prepare himself to be Nishthavan, that is established in the self. This intermediary stage is called Nididhyasanam, and one cannot afford to be careless during this period. For a Gruhastha, Nididhyasanam is essential rather to a sannyasi who is aware that he is asangaha. Then how long to practice this? Till expectations and reactions completely vanish. Just as reaction is natural, the reaction less and peace should become natural. So the knowledge of the Brahman stated in the previous shlokas is asserted by long reflection, destroying ignorance and its effects. Harihi Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. After having understood in the 37th verse, the conviction that I am Brahman, Brahmaiva asmi iti vasana becomes deeper and deeper. Hereafter, one should spend more more and more time on this all by oneself, that one should do Nididhyasanam, which is explained in this verse number 38. The verse goes like this: Vivikta deshe asinaha viragi vijitendriyaha bhavayet ekamatmanam tamanantamananyadihi. Viveka deshe asinaha. We have seen that in Bhagavad Gita and in Kaivalya Upanishad, Vivekta deshe cha sukhasanastah shuchihi samagriva shiraha shariraha, which is explained in fifth verse of Kaivalya Upanishad. It means sitting in a clean, secluded place in a comfortable posture with a neck, head, and body in alignment in the attitude of renunciation. And also in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, the verse 10, the second line, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Aratir Jana Samsadi. Vivikta Deshe means in a secluded place, in a quiet place. Asinaha, one cannot do meditation standing and therefore sitting in a comfortable posture. And all the other details we have to take from Bhagavad Gita and Kaivalya Upanishad, that is how to sit, how to control the breathing, etc. And thereafter, Vijitendriyaha, to restrain all the sense organs, that is complete control over the senses, mind, etc. Complete control over the senses means that the senses continue to function, but what is perceived through the senses, the mind do not react to it. That is what it is called as control over the senses. Sense organs includes both Jnanendriyam and Karmendriyam. Now, Vijitendriya is a compound word. Vijitani dasha indriyani yena saha. It is Bahuvriya Samasa. So the body discipline, Indriya discipline, etc. must be followed. Next is Viragaha, that is mental discipline. Without any raga attachment, because once raga comes, Krodha and Bhayam will always follow. Raga, Bhayam and Krodha always go together. Once there is raga, we will find that there will be a worry and it will be directly proportional to our attachment. So the bhayam will always be there where there is raga. If not forever, at least temporarily. Then ananya dihi iti buddhihi. Without fixing the buddhihi on anything else, ananya dihi means thinking of others. Anyadihi means thinking of others, and Ananyadihi is another important word. Ananyadihi means not thinking of anything, means without keeping a sense of otherness. And then Ekam Anantam Tam Atmanam Bhavayet. Practice bhavana, that infinite Tam Anantam should be contemplated upon. Bhavana is complete involvement without bringing in anything regarding the relative world. So the verb bhavayet means nididhyaset. So one should meditate upon that Atma, Paramatmanam, Nirgunam, Param Atmanam, Nirgunam, Nishchalam, Nityam, Nirmalam, Adi Jagat, Adishtan, Bhuta Bhavayet. Bhutam bhavayet, aham purnaha, aham triptaha. I don't worry about anything. Let things happen according to prarabdha. I will accept everything. I don't know the future, but I will welcome and accept whatever the future is. Wherever I can change, I will try to change. But whether things change or not, either way, it is okay. Brahman accommodates all. I am also ready to accommodate all. So Ekam is non-dual. Anantam is limitless. Atmanam is a self-bhavayet. Thank you, Doc. Dhanyavadaha.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Atma Bodha, verse 39. Atman eva akhilam drishyam pravilapya dhiya sudihi bhavayet ekam atmanam Nirmala Akashavat Sada. Translation: the wise one should intelligently merge the entire world of objects in the Atman alone and constantly think of the self as being ever uncontaminated like space. Adi Shankaracharya explains Sudihi's Nididhyasanam in this verse. Sudihi is a wise person. Next slide, sir. A Sthira Prajna who has already grasped Vedantic teachings by Shravana and Manana, meaning he has Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam Jnanam, and he already knows that his true nature is Aham Brahma, Aham Satyam, Drik Swarupa Atma, and Anatma's Mithya nature. Swami Paramarthananda says Vedantic meditation for a Sudihi is to recall the known Vedantic teachings with greater emphasis on Atma Anatma relationship and assimilating it with wisdom. How is this wisdom cultivated? Avidya Janya Vasana still persisting in Gnani's mind during Vedantic meditation creates Anatma Nama Rupa Satyatva Buddhi thoughts. This inevitably causes Ragadvesha reactions in his mind, which creates hindrance to focus his mind on his higher nature during Nididhyasanam. Swamiji says this can be resolved by the prakriya sarvam jagat drishyam atmani eva pravilapya, meaning the whole observed creation should be resolved in Atman. This understanding is called resolution pravilapanam. He explains this word with examples. Wave pravilapanam. A wave is only name and form of water, a non-substantial entity. There is no wave other than water. There is no ocean other than water. Seeing water alone in its many nama rupas like bubbles, wave, ocean is the crux to understand its pravilapanam, the dissolution of the wave upon the substance called water. Wave or ocean cannot destroy water, the substance. In Ghata Pravilapanam Darshana, pot is resolved into clay. Dream waking world pravilapanam. Just as the dream world has gone back and merged into the waking mind that dreamt the dream, so too the waking world of perceptions end in the experience of Atman, the illuminator of all finite experiences. Next slide, sir. Satyatva Buddhi about Anatma Nama Rupa resolves into Mithyatva Buddhi. Drishyam Jagat is falsified. Atman, the observer, stands unaffected by the changes caused in the arena of time, space, and causality. Therefore, it is to be intellectually assimilated that the world is non substantial, observed name and form superimposed upon the eternal Atman. Swamiji says one should resolve Akhilam Drishyam Prapancha, the entire objective universe, into one's own self, Atmani, with wisdom or Dhiya. Everything arises in me and resolves into me. There is no objective universe other than me. Ekam Atmanam Bhavayet should think of oneself as Atman Aham. Therefore, Sudihi's Nididhyasanam should be meditation upon the meditator. Object of meditation is the subject of meditation. He should meditate upon himself. Meditation is illumination of the self. To give more belief to this thought pattern during Nididhyasanam, Swamiji explains I Aham, the original consciousness, plus experienced universe, Nama Rupa, is Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jalam, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana Shariras. Aham plus micro and macro Nama Rupa is Vishwa Virat, Taijasa Hiranyagarbha, Prajna Ishvara. Even God, Ishvara, is I original consciousness plus macro name and form. There is no God separate from original consciousness. Even Bhagavan is dissolved into me, Atmani Eva. The eternal presence of Aham is seen in all these anatma appearances. Non-substantial anatma cannot impact the substance Atma, and that Atma Aham I am. Aham is the screen upon which the movie of the universe is happening. The ultimate stuff of the universe is I myself Aham. Only body-mind complex is subject to prarabdha karma, and prarabdha karma cannot touch the Atma. Aham is like all pervading space, Nirmala Akasha. Akasha allows everything to exist in it, but itself never gets contaminated by things which find accommodation and existence in it. So too the self, though it allows the perceptions of the not self or anatma in it, it is not contaminated by them. This anatma pravilapanam wisdom is a profound transformation and ananda during nididhyasana. I am that aham turya chaitanya atma, pure self drik. I am satyam, the truth, uncontaminated by mithya anatma. Aham nitya mukta asmi. And how to keep this thought pattern alive always? Swamiji says, by chirakala abhyasa, fixing the buddhi with ekam atma wisdom in nididhyasanam. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Kirti, and all the speakers for an excellent explanation of these 4 verses, which are talking about Nidityasanam. Nidityasanam also means Vedantic meditation. Vedantic meditation is for those who have been through Shravanam and Mananam and who have moved from Brahma Asti to Brahma Asmi. From Jnanam to Jnana Nishta, this is the whole process of assimilation. I know all that, but my habitual responses or vasanas are so strong, which means I have to do an alert living and remembering the teaching all the time. So the purpose of Vedantic meditation is this. Jnanam I know, but can Jnanam be established in every of my activity? Who is the candidate? All of us who have been attending classes for quite some time. And as told by Kirti and the previous speakers, what is the object that we need to meditate? We need to meditate on myself as Brahman. What is the method of doing it? Tat chintanam, tat katanam, anyon, tat prabodhanam. In any activity, you have to see yourself as Brahman. But when you have the time and you're doing nothing, see yourself as aham nityaha. I am always there. Aham shuddhaha. The real me is absolutely pure. I am anaga. I cannot be contaminated. Aham buddhaha and aham muktaha. So this message is very clear now. Aham Satya Brahman, and this world is not so real. Once I am clear that the world is not so real, then in every provoking situations, I will not be provoked because now I know the world cannot adversely affect me. The true proof is the extent of mithyatvam of the world. Anything that happens to my body, my mind, my family, my possessions, my professions cannot really affect me because I cannot be related to anything worldly. Atma and Anatma have no relationship whatsoever. So the final meditation is for all of us, Asangoham, 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 Punah Punaha. Why? Satchidananda is my true nature. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
On behalf of all of us, a hearty thanks to Dr. Timoppa Hegde sir, to all the speakers of the day for a wonderful session, and hearty thanks also to all the Vedantins who have joined us today. Friends, remember to join us at 6:45 p.m. on Monday, the 10th February, for our 65th session of GIFT. Gita for inner freedom and transformation, and benefit from the enlightening knowledge of our Bhagavad Gita, a Srimad Bhagavad Gita, a life manual. Let us chant the Shanti mantra and conclude today's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.